Good morning, fight fans. Welcome back. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning quick card breakdown show for UFC Vegas 76, where we have Sean Strickland taking on Abus Magomedov in a fantastic middleweight contest that should lay out the landscape of the middleweight division. We have also next weekend UFC 290, where there will be a number of fascinating bouts unfolding. But today, this afternoon, inside of the UFC Apex, we've got 12 fights. I believe 8 out of 12 fights are currently favored to end inside the distance. We're going to start off in the heavyweight division, where we have Alexander Romanov, who has shown up in various different forms, taking on Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy Ivanov coming in as the plus 120 underdog, 36 years of age, a fighter who has been through the meat grinder through the years. Augusto Sakai got the better of Ivanov. Ivanov is a fighter who you know what you're going to get just about every time out. He's a tough fighter who's going to march forward. And as far as Romanov, what can you say about this guy? You know, he showed up one round of gas. He's tried to cut weight to 236 or so. Now, the past 2 fights, he remembers what got him back to the big dance. I believe there's some recency bias here baked into this line. And Romanov, I believe he's going to come out guns blazing, looking to make a statement here against an Ivanov who, although the guy has survived stabbings, right? He's beaten Fedor Emelianenko in a Sambo match, and he seems to be nearing the end of his respective mixed martial arts career. Looks like a deer in the headlights during the weigh-ins at most weigh-ins I see. So from my perspective, this is a buy low spot on Alexander Romanov. I believe the explosive wrestling, the ground and pound may be on full display here, but it's going to come at a cost. Romanov, we know his gas tank is a major concern here. So give me Alexander Romanov to win. Could see him winning inside the distance. Massive guy, 264.5. And, you could see he's not missing a lot of meals out there. So give me Alexander Romanov. Next up, where we have Ivana Petrovic taking on Luana Carolina. We want to talk low-level women's mixed martial arts. This is what we've got, my brothers. Luana Carolina coming in with an 8-4 overall record, has taken some losses to questionable competition, but also has beaten Lupita Godinez. Granted, Godinez was going up a weight class there, and Petrovic, she's going 5 rounds in regional promotions. She has an unblemished record, but she did lose as an amateur. I watched the 5-round fight. She was evens headed into that bout from a betting perspective, and I'm not very impressed with Petrovic here, especially if you're going to lay the juice at minus 200 or so. I have to lean with the dog here, Carolina, but again, this is low-level women's mixed martial arts, which means increased volatility. And Carolina, she isn't an elder statesman of the division. I believe that there may be some room to improve. And from fight to fight, as we've seen with women's mixed martial arts, a lot can happen. And where the head and arm throw is in play in any fight when the ladies are involved. Give me Luana Carolina as an underdog here. I have no play on the bout, and I'm going to be grabbing maybe some lunch or a early dinner during this bout. Next up, where we have Gurram Kutaleze taking on Elvis Brenner. Elvis Brenner coming in as the plus 510 underdog, and he draws a bit of a rough assignment here against Kutaleze, who has faced serious adversity inside of the octagon. We've seen against Damir Ismagulov and others. Kutaleze is a force to be reckoned with. The Georgian fighter who is, you can tell he puts in the time in the training room. He is a force to be reckoned with. He's going to throw a lot of kicks. He's going to push a pace. And can Elvis Brenner match that pace? The odds suggest that he cannot. And it's a question of, is this fight going to end inside the distance? It's hovering around minus 120 or so that this fight doesn't go the distance. Brenner's fight against Tuhugov last time out showed us that he can make it across the finish line. I'm just concerned about the volume of Kutaleze if he's going to finish this fight. So I'm going to be picking Kutaleze, and man, this is a tough one. If you want to pull the trigger on Kutaleze inside the distance, I understand. I will be avoiding this fight from a betting perspective. I think the line is just a little too wide from my liking, and I'm going to lean that this fight does end inside the distance. Give me Gurram late. Next up, where we have Carol Hosa, who is, she's looking soft. She's looking soft on the scales. She's coming off of the loss to Norma Dumont. She is not who we thought she was. I believe that's a fair assessment at this stage in her career. Yana Santos, she is an elder statesman of the division here. She has been in the octagon against legitimate competition, and she is tough as nails. She is going to fight hard for your money for the most part. The Caitlin Vieira fight, one could say that Yana Santos is on a 3-fight losing streak. That fight against Caitlin Vieira, it was not a good look. She was on her back most of that fight, and but Carol Hosa is not necessarily one to pose a threat from a wrestling perspective. The volume of Hosa may be in play here. Santos looked very fit on the scale, especially even after she was coming off of giving birth, and this is, I believe, her second fight back after that. I'll be picking Carol Hosa here, but again, this is a fight where I do not have much conviction in this play. Carol Hosa has shown us who she is, and there is some fraudulence in her game. Benjamin, good morning. Great to see you. Danny, excellent having you on board. Eric, appreciate you asking about Big Pretty. She's been dealing with some cellulitis, and she also has a bunch of other health issues going on. She's 9+ years of age, so we're just doing our best, trying to keep her afloat. She did have a nice breakfast today. I appreciate you asking. Thank you. Donnie, good morning. Great to have you back. We do have a flyweight matchup next weekend. Looking forward to that one. Evan, I see you in the chat here also. Good morning. And Mr. Liam, good morning. Welcome aboard. We are going to burn through this fight card here. I'm going to pick up the pace here and hopefully try to manage to control this cough. Coffee is flowing. So give me Carol Hosa, but oh my gosh. Inside the smaller octagon, we've seen Carol Hosa has issues against the fence when she's pushed against the fence and in the clinch, she struggles. At range, she can land distant strikes, and I don't trust either fighter. Give me Hosa though. Next up, look at this line, my brothers. Joe Anderson Brito minus 1,400 against Weston Wilson. Watch the tape on Wilson. He's been submitted in the past. He's been brutalized on many occasions. You have to wonder how he managed to get this fight booked. There was a note slipped to Brito at the scales. One has to wonder what was on that note. Could have been a wide variety of topics. Brito, how does he get this done? You look at the submission prop line, you look at the TKO line, you look at the inside the distance line, minus 400 or so, 450. Goodness gracious, as I often say on the Twitter timeline. But in this fight, I'm going to be picking Brito to win inside the distance. I just don't see Wilson having the the wherewithal to survive some of these grappling exchanges. And you know that Joe Anderson Brito is going to be pushing a pace. Wilson, who, if he gets blown through, who is he going to get matched up against next time out? But give me Joe Anderson Brito in that, and in that one. And man, I think he is going to get a submission victory. I think that's the way this fight's going to play out. He does have a solid ground game. We've got a few comments here in the section. Good morning, Flea. Great to have you back. You play some tremendous bass for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I want to thank you for your efforts there. James, good morning. So this is a fight. This is almost like a people's main event fight. I didn't know the Demir Dawson fight is up there also, but this fight here, Kevin Lee making a comeback here after about a year and a half off. Knee injury sustained against Diego Sanchez, and we knew before the D-Rod fight, he had both knees, both ACLs repaired. So that is a major red flag. I picked D-Rod to beat Kevin Lee, and he came through in that fight. Kevin Lee, we know, starts hot. He is a solid wrestler, solid grappler, can throw hands a little bit, but his bread and butter is finding the back and locking up a rear naked choke. Rinat Fakhretdinov is coming in as a minus 200 betting favorite. He's coming off of a destruction of Brian Battle, who that win is looking solid. And Fakhretdinov, the much more active fighter, he also has in this spot the much better gas tank. We've seen him push a pace for 3 rounds hard, and he is comfortable in the grind. Kevin Lee, I know he looks great on the scale, but looking great on the scale does not necessarily translate to inside the octagon. We saw against Diego Sanchez, whoever laid minus 800 or so, or even greater than that on Kevin Lee versus Diego Sanchez. They were in for one hell of a sweat last time out for Eagle FC. I don't care if he injured his knee or not. That was a horrific effort by Kevin Lee. And now he's coming back, looks great on the scale, has the trajectory of Kevin Lee's career has been on a downward trend for quite some time now. I'm going to be picking Rinat Fakhretdinov, but there's no denying Kevin Lee's talent. I know that Kevin Lee is a tremendously talented individual, and it's sad that his career has kind of slipped through his grasp, because he's an articulate young man who is great on the mic and he believes in himself, but then he hits a breaking point midway through many of his fights. And I have to make this crystal clear that this fight card today, I believe, is a live bettor's dream, that there are going to be maybe 5 or 6 spots on this card where we will be able to see, and it will be crystal clear that there's a turning point in a number of fights. And this is potentially one of them. If Kevin Lee doesn't get Fakhretdinov out of there in the first round and a half or so, I believe Kevin Lee is going to falter big time down the stretch here. And I know he looked solid on the scale, and this fight is up at 170 pounds, but Kevin Lee's better days were spent at 155 pounds. Watch his fight back against RDA. He ran out of gas in that fight, the Oliveira fight. There have been many other fights where Kevin Lee, the wheels fall off. And I know he's had his issues. You look at his wheels, and those are his legs, and they've been surgically repaired many times. So I'll be picking Fakhretdinov, but I understand, no denying Kevin Lee's talent. Give me Fakhretdinov. Now, this is another fight where you have the fight doesn't go the distance line. It's close to like minus 700 or so. Look at this line here. Nursultan Ruziboev coming in as plus 190. He is the much more experienced fighter here, but I don't put much stock into his abilities. You watch his fight, he's getting out muscled. He's 6'5" at this weight class. Massive. Well, he's a skyscraper, not necessarily massive. He is fighting a massive fighter in Bruno Ferreira, who is built like a fire hydrant, is 10-0, is you watch during the face-offs, he's the much thicker fighter who minus 225. I've been looking at this line. I haven't played it because, again, this is a situation where you have fighters who haven't necessarily had many minutes under the bright lights. Bruno Ferreira, we saw his destruction of RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. I was at Borgata in Atlantic City for that fight. I remember watching that fight unfold, and man, those punches from Ferreira, it only took one, and RoboCop's eyes rolled to the back of his head on the canvas, and that was night-night. So Ruziboev, not a believer in him. I believe that Ferreira is going to run through him here. And Ferreira inside the distance is an option here. I know Ruziboev has gone to decision in the past, but I don't see this fight hitting the scorecards, and I believe that there are a number of paths to victory here. I know Ruziboev looks flashy on film, but there's some rough spots that I've seen during his tape where other fighters, other low-level fighters, should be able to capitalize on his mistakes. So I know the EV at his last name, and you look at the record, but don't let that lure you in this situation. Give me Ferreira, and Ferreira inside the distance. Now, got another let's see. Apparently, Wuzeltau's future in the UFC is at welterweight per Brady Bags podcast. Okay. Yeah. A 6'5" welterweight. Let's see how that works out. Next up, we've got Ismail Bonfim coming in as a minus 305 favorite, and he's taking on Benoit SaintDenis, and I didn't have the odds up there, but let's find the accurate odds here while we navigate this podcast this morning. Now, Bonfim is coming in off of a tremendous victory over Terrence McKinney, where that was beautiful to watch. I was very, very impressed with his performance there. You watched the fight unfold, and McKinney folded. SaintDenis coming in as, I see the best line available right now, plus 255. And watch the size discrepancy on the face-off here. SaintDenis, I'm not completely ruling him out here. Bonfim, very intelligent fighter. He can mix it up. He's got a solid ground game, solid striker, and he is a force to be reckoned with there. What I like about Bonfim is his accuracy. And SaintDenis, he's a survivor, can push a pace. We've seen against Zaleski dos Santos, tough to totally count him out. The pick is going to be Bonfim, but if this fight gets extended, SaintDenis, I saw the big difference in size here coming in on the scale. And it looks like SaintDenis has been eating his Wheaties. So I'm not playing this fight from a betting perspective, because if Bonfim cannot get SaintDenis out of there, it's a situation where SaintDenis, I know he slows down. He looks like he's running on fumes, but the grappling is still there for him, and the guy can push a pace. But give me Bonfim to win, and it's a matter of how much can SaintDenis take, because that's a Zaleski dos Santos fight. Really, the damage there. I know he rattled off a 2-fight win streak here. Now after that Zaleski dos Santos loss, but I wonder how much damage can he take. So give me Bonfim to win, and I haven't made a play on that fight. Now, this is a fascinating matchup. Melissa Gatto coming in as the minus 225 matchup, our favorite, against Ariana Lipsky plus 190 at the betting window. Lipsky, she is coming off of shocking the world against JJ Aldrich. There were a lot of believers also in Lipsky who came out and caused a major, major upset against Aldrich. And has she turned the corner here against Melissa Gatto, who fought well against Tracy Cortez and shown she's shown that she is against Eubanks also. She can come in there and can perform against solid competition, especially against folks who have solid grappling. And Lipsky, if she comes in here looking to light Gatto up on the feet, that may be her path here. But Gatto, she's done enough to prove to me that she's capable of winning this fight and should win this fight more often than not. But am I going to go out of my way in women's mixed martial arts to lay a minus 225? No, not going to do it. And I'm going to be picking Gatto, but you look at paths to victory here, and Gatto she's got more paths to victory. She also has proven to have a solid gas tank. And we've seen Lipsky can, on a dime, just give up and get taken out of a fight. So I'm not banking on Lipsky here. I'm not going to take a shot on her. I'll be picking Gatto to win. Next up, we've got Max Griffin taking on Michael Morales. Michael Morales riding, I believe, 13 or 14 fight win streak. He is rolling here. And I am taking a look at my notes here. He is on a roll, undefeated. Fight doesn't go the distance, sitting at minus 120 right now. Max Griffin coming off of Tim Means' fight. He put Neil Magny in trouble. I was on Magny in that spot. I was sweating bullets. And Griffin can pose a threat on the feet. We saw against Mike Perry and others. I believe he went into Orlando. Thank you. He went into Orlando and beat Mike Perry at his own game there. And we've seen he's tough as nails, but that fight against Mike Perry was a long time ago. And Michael Morales, we're watching a young fighter who I believe is only 24 years of age. He's still developing in front of our eyes. I'm not going to be laying the minus 250 here. I believe that if Morales does get this done, he'll get it done inside the distance. The Fugit victory, what does that prove to us? Fugit was a bit of a punching bag on the feet, and Morales tends to do well in spurts. He will not overexert himself to a point where he's completely exhausted. So I believe that this is going to be a competitive fight for about a round and a half, and then Morales is going to uncork something that's going to hurt Griffin. But I'm not making a play on this fight. I believe this may also be another live betting opportunity here. So keep your eye out. Keep your hands on the trigger figure. Evan says Gatto will be able to move Lipsky around. Yes, I agree with that. Okay. You're going with the same game parlay right there. Interesting. So give me Michael Morales to win and to win inside the distance, but this is another live betting opportunity. Now, believe it or not, we're on the co-main event of the evening. We've got Damir Ismagulov taking on Grant Dawson. This is a interesting matchup. I've dug into tape. I've spent more hours researching this fight than any other fight on the card. And initially, I walked away with the plus 110 ticket on Grant Dawson, and I saw a path to victory via the grappling and the red flags of Damir Ismagulov. I know the Sarukian fight, let's be honest, that fight, most fighters, most lightweights lose that fight day in and day out. And just the pace that Sarukian puts on, he is like a dog on a bone. If you try to get that bone away from him, good luck. And Grant Dawson fights a similar fight, but the real problem now I have with Grant Dawson is his striking defense is null and void. It's not there. And if Grant Dawson can get this fight to the mat, we've seen him time and time and time again. He's a winner, 19 wins, 1 loss, right? And a draw. If he gets his fight to the ground, the body lock, that is and should be there for him. Ismagulov, it's like shooting fish in a barrel against Grant Dawson on the feet. That's a problem for me. I watched these lines move. I also got in on Ismagulov at -105, so it was a hedge for me. It ended up being an ARB opportunity, and very, very rare hedge. Walked away there with a little bit of a profit, but that is this is me realizing that there are multiple possible outcomes here, that there are no certainties in this game, and that Grant Dawson could come in here. And he looked great on the scales. Let's be honest. Grant Dawson looked phenomenal on the scales. Both of these fighters have had trouble making weight in the past. Ismagulov, fantastic striker, great movement, great head movement, solid takedown defense, great fight IQ. And I could see this fight playing out 2 different ways. Dawson comes in here, gets Ismagulov on the mat. Now, how does he do that? He does that by being relentless and finding the hips of Ismagulov. It might be a challenge to get there, though. But once he does, he will likely win minutes on the mat against Ismagulov. But Ismagulov, I mentioned it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I'm going to be picking Ismagulov here. I know I had a breakdown earlier in the week where I ended up leaning towards the Dawson side, but the more I uncovered in this matchup, I have some serious issues with Dawson's striking defense. And I think that might be an issue. The other real possibility here is that Ismagulov's retirement talk was legitimate. And that's something that really can sway me too, is if a fighter is on the verge of retiring, they have usually, even if it's for a few weeks or a month, to check out mentally is a big deal. I know he may be pursuing options elsewhere, but what it comes down to is Ismagulov is a much more complete fighter here. And look at who he's losing to. You know, it's Gamrot, Demir's fight against Gamrot, solid. And also the Grant Dawson situation. Look at his level of competition. He's got this is a climbing of the ladder situation. It's a situation where he is going to have to step up. If he was calling out Tony Ferguson, let that sink in for a few seconds there. So the victory over Gurram, I was on Damir in that matchup, and then I was on Arman Sarukian against Damir here. Now in this fight, I'm going to be picking Damir Ismagulov, but it's a situation where I think you'd be better served keeping that money in your pocket and looking at other opportunities where you have a significant edge. If you got plus 180 or plus 140 on Dawson, I understand there's value there, but I'm not forcing a play here. Let's see. I appreciate this. Yes. Thank you. I want to wish a speedy recovery to Jimmy Buffett, who is unfortunately not touring this year. Let's get to the main event of the evening, where we have Sean Strickland taking on Abus Magomedov. Magomedov coming in as the plus 135 underdog. And he's taking on Sean Strickland, who's looked the best that he's ever looked on the scale here. Let's be honest. He looks like his body type right now is almost the way it looked when he was a welterweight. So he's lost some of the flab. He is taking on a dangerous both striker and someone who is willing to throw caution to the wind in Abus Magomedov, someone who's willing to commit to his strikes. You've seen Strickland face a number of fighters who will sit back and they'll get into almost, it's like pitter patter exchanges with him for multiple minutes. Hermanson, uh, Ivanov, uh, or Imavov, um, and even Cannonier at times. That fight ended up going the distance, but Cannonier was landing the harder strikes, and Magomedov is going to have to land some fight ending punches here, or else Strickland is going to run away with this fight. This is, in my eyes, one of the best live betting opportunities on the card. I think if you watch Magomedov and his fight footage, I don't trust him going deep into fights. He's a extremely tall, lanky individual, and there are a lot of moving parts there. We talk about even translating this back to other sports, and there are a lot of moving parts. A lot of, when you deal with pitchers and hitters, and even with striking, when you're dealing with a complex individual who's reliant on technical striking, if you fatigue, things start to fall apart. And Sean Strickland, I believe, is going to be the more well put together fighter the longer this goes. And if he doesn't get starched like he did against Pereira, I think that this is his fight to win. I know the odds have closed recently, but I believe that Strickland is the legitimate favorite here and should walk away with victory. So those are the picks. The quick morning show is in the books. I want to wish everybody a fantastic fight day. Remember to go get what's yours today. And don't forget, we've got UFC 290. If you wouldn't mind giving the podcast a like and subscribing, that would be a big help here. I haven't been one to go out and ever ask for followers. This has been an organic growth throughout many, many years of grinding, and everything's third-party tracked. Trying to, this is the ultimate proving ground. If you track your plays and you put yourself out there and you offer insight, that's what we're doing here. This is we bring our A game week in and week out, and there are no certainties here. So thank you for tuning in. Remember to go get what's yours, and let's do this. We're cutting this out in under 33 minutes. Take care, my brothers.